What's up, y'all? So, yeah, I was sick yesterday. Otherwise, I would have talked about this. Well, actually, I probably wouldn't have because, the thing is, people always want to rush and create content. Well, first of all, I don't think we should be talking about the idea of creating content around other people's misery. But this is a relevant news item, and I guess I am technically a political slash real time strategy slash whatever the fuck you want to call me, streamer, YouTuber, whatever. So, yeah, the Syrian government led by Bashar al Assad, who took over the position from his dad, Hafez al Assad, who not a very nice guy. Um, Up the output audio. Yes, I did see that Israel is invading Syria. I'm going to talk about that later. But yeah. So what the fuck is going on? There was a major blitz. This took everybody by surprise. Like a week ago, I was talking about how Assad is basically the Mugabe of the Levant. Like this guy is never going to go everywhere. And then I wake up out of my funk yesterday. I finally quit throwing up my guts, and then I go on Twitter and I see the fucking Syrian government has collapsed. Rude as fuck. But yeah, shit waits for no man. So yeah, last night, the Assad led Syrian government, which has been in power for over 60 years, has fallen. Overnight, anti government forces seized Homs and entered Damascus. Assad has fled the capital with unverified reports suggesting he was on a plane that disappeared off radar west of Homs. So people were talking about, oh, the plane has crashed, he's dead. And it turns out Russia said today that he is alive. He's not dead. Apparently, his plane did an evasive maneuver to avoid being shot down. And I get it. Okay, nobody wants to be Gaddafi. That is a horrible, horrible way to go out. Nobody wants to be sodomized with an AK. So, evasive maneuver. Apparently, he flew to one of Russia's bases on the Mediterranean, and they smuggled him out of the country. So, Assad is cooked. He's gone. He's done. He's no longer a major player in Syrian politics. He resigned his position. His army surrendered. As a matter of fact, the rebels were able to enter Damascus without meeting any pushback from the official Syrian army, which is loyal to Assad. And I mean, I get it, okay? Like, look, this country has been in civil war for 15 fucking years. 15 years. People get tired, man. Like, people want food for their kids. People want nice houses. People want to be able to walk down the street without getting blown the fuck up. I get it. Syrians are tired of war. And I don't blame them. Like, it is the epitome of stupidity to sit in the United States or Europe and mindlessly and vicariously cheerlead wars in other countries where while you're not at risk. Like the last time we had actual military conflict on American soil was December 7th, 1941, and that only affected maybe a few thousand people. The last time we had a major war on this country's soil was outside of living memory, the Civil War, which was damn near 200 years ago. So Americans have never had in living memory the experience of a full-scale war taking place on our territory. So it's kind of shitty for us to just sit in Chile. Oh yeah, long live Assad, long live Assad. Like, why didn't the Syrian people come out and defend Assad? Because they were sick and tired of him, okay? They were sick of him. They were tired of him. They didn't want him around anymore. Otherwise, they would have came. His army would have fought to the bitter end for their leader, and the masses would have came out in arms and fought. Some idiots were like, oh, well, they don't want to get beheaded. Like, bruh, it doesn't matter. If you don't want your government to collapse and be overthrown, then you're going to fight for it. The Syrian people do not fight for Assad because they don't give a shit. So, now what's happening? Okay, Israel is not one to let a crisis go to waste, and this is a crisis. Like everybody's talking about, oh, free Syria. Like, okay, no, Syria is not free yet. Okay, this is a power vacuum. There is technically an official Syrian government, but like it's weak. Like there's still chaos. People are in Damascus robbing banks and shit. What does this mean realistically, though? Does Daesh have a major stronghold in Syria now? Again, I do not know. I do not know. Most of these groups are funded by like Turkey and various other countries. Okay, this is a proxy war. Okay, some of these people are backed by the United States. Some of these people are backed by Russia. Some of these people are backed by the fucking um by Iran. Some of these people are backed by Turkey. This is a proxy war. So, do I want to see Syria pulled apart and destroyed like Libya was? No, that is not going to be a good thing for anybody. Nobody wants that. Nobody wants that. Okay. Um, and of course, like I was saying, Israel has invaded Syria. Like they just pushed outside of out of the Golan Heights, which Syria and Israel have been fighting over because Israel illegally occupied it. Now they're pushing into Syria proper. How far will they go? Again, we don't know. Shit is happening really, really fast. So you got this foreign invasion of Syria less than 24 hours after Assad flees the country. This is what people were afraid of. This doesn't mean that we should full throatedly back Assad, of course, because again, he did some pretty fucked up shit to his people. And if I recall correctly, he was not very nice to Palestinian refugees who lived in this country. Um, but this is what people were afraid of. People were afraid that if Assad fell, he was a stabilizing force in Syria, just like Saddam was a stabilizing force in Iraq. Yes, again, he was a shitty dictator. Saddam was. Assad apparently was also a shitty dictator. That's why hence the Civil War. People got sick of his shit. But when you remove a stabilizing force and you create power vacuum after power vacuum, what's going to happen is you're going to allow major players in the region to come in and slice your country up. That's what happened when Gaddafi was overthrown. Now Libya is partitioned and divided and overrun with jihadists and slave traffickers and all types of other weirdos. That's what people are afraid is going to happen in Syria now that Assad has been forced to flee the country. The Israeli army announced on Sunday an increased presence in the Golan Heights, deploying forces to strategic locations within the demilitarized zone in response to developments in Syria. Citing a statement by the army, the Israeli newspaper Times of Israel reported that the military had taken up new positions in a buffer zone between Israel and Syria and the Golan Heights as it prepared for potential chaos. The IDF has deployed troops in the buffer zone and in a number of areas that are necessary to defend in order to ensure the security of the communities in the Golan Heights and the citizens of Israel. So they're basically just annexing all of this shit. How far will they go? Israel, again, is not one to let a crisis go to waste. They're going to try to grab as much as they can. The United States is probably going to throw the Kurds to the wolves because they're no longer useful. Assad is gone. So will the Kurds be allowed to be massacred by the Turks? Who knows? Well, the Turkish proxies, again, who knows? Like, this is chaos right now. And anybody that says they know for sure what is happening, that it's not on the ground in Syria, is probably full of shit. Or they're wish casting. But it is, again, highly feasible, in my mind, that the United States has no further use for the Kurdish national liberation struggle and will happily make a deal with whoever takes over Rojava after to parcel out the resources. Like, that's what America wants. America wanted Assad gone, and America wants to partition out Syrian resources to American companies. That's all. I must admit, I'm curious as to what led to the rebels just blitzing Aleppo and causing everything else to domino. Well, Iran and Russia are kind of tied up. Like, Iran and Russia are pretty much the only things that were keeping this situation afloat. Plus, the Syrian economy is for shit. Russia has its own problems because of its stupid war in Ukraine. Iran has been backing Hezbollah pretty hard. And, like, you can't just, like, both of these countries that Syria is dependent on are having major economic issues right now. The United States knows this because, shit, the United States created this. Sanctions on both. The United States created this problem with the express intended purpose that these countries would not be able to help out their ally any longer. And yes, like, really the only, like, good people in this situation are obviously Rojava and the Kurds. Like, those are the only good people. Those are the only people that I really want to see win. But Yankee and Zionist geopolitics doesn't want a free Kurdish state. They don't want national liberation for the Kurdish people, because if the Kurdish people have their own land, they're not going to parcel out their resources to the Americans. They're going to use their resources for the benefit of their own people, as they should. Like, look at what America has been doing to former YPG volunteers who come back here. Like, America does not care. America does not give a fuck. America is exclusively for itself. Um, but yeah, a major blow to the axis of resistance because now you've got fire after fire after fire after fire going on in Syria. And Iran and Russia are kind of stretched thin. Like, that's American geopolitical strategy. Stretch them so thin so that they cannot concentrate their forces. Like, the only thing that Russia could do was smuggle Assad out of the country so he didn't get lynched. Already hearing rumors of clashes between the Syrian National Army and the Syrian Defense Forces. I believe the Syrian National Army and a Turkish-backed group. This isn't over yet. No, this is just beginning. Not just rumors, there is full-on fighting around Manbij between the Manbij Military Council and the Syrian National Army. So yeah, again, this isn't over. Like, the civil war is not over just because Assad fled the country, because now you've got a whole bunch, dozens upon dozens upon dozens of armed groups in this country that are, like, do you have any idea how many people running around with guns there are in Syria? Let me show you. Syrian civil war. Like, this has basically been just a fucking royal rumble between everybody that has a gun in the country. I hate using Wikipedia, but fuck it. Let's see. So, this is a map of Syria as of yesterday, if I recall correctly. So, let's see. So, the Syrian Arab Republic, apparently they have nothing left besides Jabla, the Latakia Governorate, which is apparently a heavily Alawite region. You've got the Southern Operations Room. You've got no man's land. I don't see ISIL anywhere. You got the Syrian Salvation Government, which is Hayat Tahrir al-Sham, which, if I recall correctly, was formerly Al-Qaeda. So yeah, they're all over the place. Why does this look like Golden Dawn's emblem? You've got the Syrian interim government, and you've got the Turks up here chilling. You've got the Kurds, the YPG, the good guys up here. This is their yellow. Yeah, all over the place. Here we go. Full list of combatants. Let's see who we've got. This is like look at all these fucking people. Like, you really think all these people are just going to give up and go home? So you've got the Syrian Arab Republic and its allies. Those were Assad's people. They're done data right now. Let's see. So yeah, you've got the Republican Guard. And I love how fast these nerds on Wikipedia move. The Syrian Arab Armed Forces were like some nerd was just fucking gooning all morning, changing is to was. So you've got the Syrian National Army, you've got the Syrian Democratic Forces, you've got Western Volunteers, you've got the Murder Abid Battalion, you've got the Murder Erdal Brigade, you've got American, British, and German fighters, most of which have come back to their countries and are having legal problems. And of course, you've got the Salafis, all of these folks over here. Rouse the Believers Operation Room. Most of these people are long gone, but they haven't all been massacred. So you've still got a lot of people with weapons running around Syria. You've got the Assyrians, you've got a lot of people, and these people are not just going to disappear because Assad has fled the country. Now they're going to start fighting each other, which is what everybody was afraid of. So, that's pretty much what's going on. Israel is trying to grab as much territory as they can. The SNA and the SDF are fighting each other. You got tanks rolling through the Golan Heights. Yeah. The Syrian rebels have reached the border with Israel-occupied Golan Heights. The question is, why stop? Why not attack Israel? Because they've struck a deal, that's why. Like, I love how these fucking armchair generals are like, why don't you, like, bro, you go out there. You go out there and attack Israel. Fuck. And of course, like, if we end up with a Islamist government in Syria, they're going to end up attacking Israel eventually. Yeah, not. I don't see these people being very keen on allowing Israel to just sit up and hang. It's just not happening. So here's a GDF video.
Ali, the decades-long ruler of Tunisia, the nation in which it all started. Gaddafi wouldn't leave so easily. The world rallied to invade and overthrow him. However, Bashar al-Assad of Syria proved capable of weathering the storm. He still faces numerous hurdles, which have changed over time, opening up multiple fronts in a fight to maintain his rule. The war in Syria has been at the mercy of foreign backers, each with their own unique interest. It's not as easy as dividing the conflict between East and West.
Why does Assad have such a long ass neck? That's why he fled, because he knew that they were fitting that neck for a rope. He doesn't want to be dragged through Damascus behind a car.
Christopher Phillips, professor of international relations at Queen Mary University and of Chatham House, identifies 6 external state protagonists in the conflict: the U.S., Russia, Iran, Saudi Arabia, Turkey, and Qatar. Other states have played a role. However, none has had sufficient leverage detached from one of these main players to impact the conflict independently. Debate has swelled over the influence of the various players.
So yeah, if you want to know anything about this, I guess if you want to sum up the Syrian civil war, I guess you could consider it a proxy war between the U.S. And Russia and Iran. That's pretty much what it is.
Big and small in the Middle East. While the United States enjoys less dominating influence than it did in years past, particularly following the Iraq quagmire, they undoubtedly are the most.
I wouldn't call Russia and Iran a joke. Like, they tried. Okay? Like, they tried to back their guy. But again, they do not have the economic power that the United States does. They do not have the wherewithal to throw their weight around economically like the United States does. Okay? So the United States controls the IMF. It controls all these supposedly international forums that can fuck your economy up. Like, that's how Chile was ruined. That's how all of these third world countries have been ruined. Russia and Iran do not have that power. Don't get me wrong. They're still, like, Iran is a regional superpower. Russia is a global superpower. But in terms of the money question, our money longer than theirs.
Most powerful force making key.
That's what all this shit boils down to. Like, who can hurt your economy the most?
Decisions and holding vast capital and weapons. Hey everybody, please subscribe for more videos like this. I try my best to get them out as fast as I can as just one person here. If you want to join...
I mean, to be fair, Russia started the war. Like, nobody was like, hey, Russia, invade Ukraine. It'll be dope. Like, Russia brought that war on themselves. But again, they invaded it for what they considered to be a legitimate reason, because they thought Ukraine was about to join NATO. And that would be like Mexico joining a Russian military alliance. Like, that would not be allowed to happen. So, but yeah. Don't get bogged down in long wars. It will lead to the collapse of your country.
In the Discord community, whether you want to share memes, vent, or argue about Syria, please consider becoming a patron. And lastly, another great way you can support me is by donating. Thank you everyone, and thank you patrons. I love you all. Russia, however, is increasingly a major superpower, continuing the East-West Cold War in spirit. Comparisons and references to the Cold War abound when looking at the Middle East and especially Syria, both East and West, as well as Sunni and Shia.
The Germans will never let Ukraine join NATO. Yeah, NATO is only for those who are of pure Germanic descent. We will not allow Slavs to join a military alliance. We have no use for those Ubermenschen. They can't even win their own war. Why would we allow them to join NATO? They will decrease our prestige.
Yeah, namely Saudi Arabia and Iran, respectively. In Philip's opinion, a multipolar Middle East appears the most accurate description of the
multipolar? We already have one Poland. Why do we need more than one Poland? Ugh.
Changes underway, with a Saudi-Iranian Cold War a component of it rather than the defining feature. The U.S. invasion of Iraq, the human catastrophe of the 21st century, with widespread destruction by aerial bombardment, siege warfare, particularly at Fallujah, and a breakdown of the healthcare system culminating in upwards of 1 million deaths, played a key role in shaping the Middle East as it was on the eve of the Arab Spring. Armed with intelligence reports of a stockpile of weapons of mass destruction, the Bush administration aimed for regime change.
Wah, wah. Yeah. Regime change is bad because, like, the only people who have the moral, I guess, authority to change the regime are the people who live under that government. Like, if you're sick and tired of the fucking Syrian government, if you're sick and tired of Assad, then by all means, like, I'm a Maoist. It is right to rebel. But many people are afraid of this. Many people are afraid of what happens after. Like, Syria is for shit now. Like, you have people that are robbing banks and all types of other stuff. So people don't want chaos. People, like average fucking people, they do not want a 15-year long war. They don't want inflation. Like, last I checked, $1 is worth 20,000 or something Syrian pounds. Like, this is Weimar Germany shit. Regime change is bad because it's always the U.S. pushing societies into neoliberal shock treatment even more rapidly than local capitalists. That is true. Like, neoliberal shock treatment, it destroys the local capitalists. It brings in the imperialists. I just finished reading Vijay Prasad's Washington Bullets, where he talks heavily about that. So, yeah, fuck foreign influenced or foreign instigated regime change. But the people do have the right to overthrow their government if it is not serving them. That is why, like, the Arab Spring, I think, in many cases was legitimate. Like, people had real legitimate grievances against these governments. But I also find it amusing that there was no Arab Spring in Saudi Arabia, a major U.S. ally, which is probably the most repressive regime in the Middle East. Bahrain, Qatar, like all these countries, like there was no Arab Spring and regime change there. Like, why don't you topple all these old ass fucking kings and shit that, like, why not do Jordan? Like, I find it amusing that the Arab Spring was only relatively successful in countries that the U.S. has beef with. Feels weird as fuck that, as a Brit, that Syria has pounds as a currency. Yeah, if I recall correctly, Syria was a French colony. So, yeah. It's another lingering legacy of imperialism. The Gulf petrostates will be next after Israel. Yeah, like, why has there been an Arab Spring in Dubai, which literally has slaves? Like, I always get irritated when I see people, oh, hey, well, hey, girl, we chilling in Dubai. Like, first of all that gold and shit that you're buying is from Sudanese slaves. Like, the United Arab Emirates is built on the misery of Sudan. It's built on the misery of Indian and Filipino guest workers, which is a fancy term for slaves. Like, they literally bring these people over there and make them build all this nice shit. They have to live in tents or in shitty barracks. The Emiratis live like kings, like the people who are actually, like, from there. Meantime, everybody else is made to suffer. So, yeah, fuck Dubai. There's actually been a pretty heavy movement to get people, like, to not go there, quit patronizing those places, because, like, it's evil. So you've got this guy, Abu Muhammad al-Gulani, who is, if I recall correctly, the HTS commander. You know, up until a couple of weeks ago, I thought HTS was one of those weird Korean boy bands, a K-pop group. He says, how many people were displaced across the world? How many people lived in tents? How many drowned in the seas? The top rebel commander, Abu Muhammad al-Gulani, told a huge crowd at the medieval Umayyad Mosque in central Damascus. A new history, my brothers, is being written in the entire region after this great victory. It would take hard work to build a new Syria, which you said would be a beacon for the Islamic nation, the Ummah. Assad's government, known for generations as heading one of the harshest police states in the entire Middle East, with hundreds of thousands of political prisoners in its gulag. Oh dear, not gulag, but huge jailbreaks yesterday. And no, I don't think that many of these people belong in prison. As a prison abolitionist, as a black man in America whose people have suffered at the hands of the carceral regime that exists in the United States, I have sympathy with anybody that finds themselves in prison for their political beliefs, unless they're fascists. I don't feel any sympathy for fascists. So HTS's leader Abu Muhammad al-Jalani has put Damascus's institutions under the supervision of Assad's old prime minister and ordered anti-Assad militants to stay away from them. The PM announces willingness to cooperate with new authorities in Damascus. May Allah protect the Syrian people. Assad and his family have arrived in Moscow and have been granted asylum in Russia. Okay. So it turns out that his plane didn't crash. It just did an evasive move, and the Russians definitely smuggled him out of the country. Okay. This is sweet. It's the Pope's nativity scene. All of this apparently was made by a Palestinian carpenter from Bethlehem, and he's got baby Jesus swaddled in a keffiyeh. I like this Pope. He's a dope Pope. So, this is footage from Damascus a few hours ago. I don't know if that gunfire is celebratory. Yeah, they're shooting in the air. That's celebratory gunfire. Save your ammunition, guys. You might need to fight Israel in a few days. Damn. Also, Damascus is such a beautiful city. Sounds like St. Louis on New Year's. Like we do that shit too. So I've seen a lot of Palestinians saying stuff like this. The war in Gaza in this past year has exposed Assad as a liability to any resistance against Israel and American hegemony. Besides his tyranny against Syrian people, he barely provided any moral or material support to the resistance in Gaza. And apparently the Yemeni government closed their embassy last October, during Al-Aqsa flood because Assad normalized relations with the UAE or with Saudi Arabia. But one of those shitty regimes he normalized relations with. Like Assad was an opportunist. Like I don't think he's going to probably end up going down in history as Saddam, as like as how Saddam Hussein did. Like yeah, he sucked, but him being taken out destroyed what semblance of stability there existed in this country. Like I would definitely say that Iraq is a lot worse off after Saddam. Like they can't even hold a fucking government together. Like I would definitely say that Iraq is worse off now that their own little dictator is gone. So if you don't have anybody that's like able to step in and actually run the country well, then you're gonna suffer. There's gonna be a lot of fucking problems. But who am I to begrudge the Syrian people their rejoicing? Because like if you actually think that they like this guy or that they thought that he was a good leader, you're delusional. And yes, Assad was only ever interested in himself. That's how most strongmen are. How is the illegitimate Zionist state still standing? U.S. support. And no one will step up to Israel. Stepping up means direct confrontation with America. That's what I told whoever said, why haven't they attacked Israel yet? Because nobody wants the fucking United States to come in and bomb their shit to ruins. This is going to keep happening decade after decade. That's why those of us in the Imperial Core are so important and we need to get our shit together. Because this shit is going to keep happening. Like everybody's talking, oh, why isn't it? Like, what have we done? What have we done? Yeah, we had the claims adjuster in New York City the other day, but come on, we need 1 million claims adjusters. Good evening. I have to get ready for work because I was sick yesterday, and I don't do this professionally. Anyways, peace.